Now, I brought you the story yesterday about the Deputy Chief Health Officer in Victoria and her controversial tweet. Hasn't that gone off? Let's check it again. Dr Annaliese van Diemen said sudden arrival of an invader from another land, decimating populations, creating terror, forces the population to make enormous sacrifices and completely change how they live in order to survive. COVID-19 or Cook 1770? Just silly, wrong-headed and divisive stuff. And if you look at her Twitter feed, it's full of this hard-left, hateful stuff that the sewer of Twitter is renowned for. This story really generated a heap of interest and comment overnight. Mainstream people in this country don't like this sort of behaviour, no matter how popular it is on Twitter. Even the Prime Minister is bought in.
I found those sort of comments very disappointing. She clearly won't get the job as chief historian, but when it comes to medical advice, I mean, I applaud the work she's doing as a medical officer in Victoria. That's her expertise. I would strongly suggest she keep to that because those sorts of comments don't inspire confidence and people should stick to their day jobs.
And a little later, or around about the same time, actually, the Home Affairs Minister went even further.
Well, I think she should go. I think it's pretty obvious that in the middle of a pandemic, the second highest medical officer in the state of Victoria should actually be concentrating on the people of Victoria and the crisis associated with COVID-19. Instead, she's off running culture war debates, and I just think she's unfit for that office and she should go. But Daniel Andrews will protect her. There's no doubt about that.
Well, Peter Dutton was right. The Victorian Premier did stand by her.
I'll just make the point to you. There was a tweet posted on a day off, and if that's the biggest issue of this global pandemic, well, I don't agree with that.
Well, the Victorian Premier is right, of course. She shouldn't just sack public servants for dumb political views. Heavens, what would happen at the ABC? Still, there are plenty of people defending her rights who cheered for Israel Folau's sacking, so there's hypocrisy to be found here. But you don't want to tempt fate if you're Dr Van Diemen. If your politics are really as silly as this tweet suggests, best keep them to yourself, I think. Taxpayers don't expect highly paid public servants to run down the very country that pays them. Dr Van Diemen's tweeting is now being investigated for possible breaches of public sector rules. Whatever else is going on in Van Diemen land, she's got enough on her plate with COVID-19. Perhaps she ought to just put her Twitter account into social isolation for a while.